Hello, everyone. Welcome to the YouTube channel, The Next Move. In this video, we'll be talking about how to position yourself in college to land internships and full-time jobs. The very first thing I did want to do or talk about is who is the next move and my overall goals and aspirations with this channel. Essentially, I aim to just help young adults with career planning and improving their quality of life. This can be in multiple ways, such as resume building, learning how to invest, learning about retirement accounts, etc. Feel free to contact or stay active with my social medias down below. So let's kind of touch on more on what we'll be talking about today and the content overview. Well, first three things are just going to be more just setting down the foundation. We have the mindset change, the career commitment, and the resume building, then followed up by experience beats prestige, the cliche of networking, and my personal favorite, beggars can be choosers. So let's start with the problem, mindset change. Essentially, what we're having is that a lot of college students come into college still viewing college like school. What do I mean? Obviously, we have to address the elephant in the room, GPA, grade point average. Many students focus way too much in their GPA, and because of that, they completely forget everything else, which employers hate to see. They want to see someone that is well rounded, that has been well diverse, and that is a part of multiple different avenues. Then we have followed up by the mentality and the philosophy that grades equals rewards. We must understand that just because you have high grades, that does not guarantee you will see success in the form of an internship, of a full-time job, etc. So you have to understand that employers reward evidence, not necessarily reward grades. Then we have effort does not equal success. Unfortunately, we do have to come to this understanding that we can work as hard as humanly possible, but at the end of the day, the amount of effort you put does not mean you're going to be successful. Hard work will not guarantee success. However, it will get you the highest odds, whether we like it or not. Luck is needed. And lastly, employer's mindset. An employer does not see your effort, they see signals. Essentially, have you done something similar before? They don't care very much about your GPA, but more about do you have any relevant experience in this avenue, which I can kind of tug or war with. I can combine to believe that you can be successful in this role. Understand that college is not school, and that having that mindset change will be very beneficial. Over here, I did want to touch on the importance of everything, your entire time in college, essentially. Here we have a graph where we see the importance based on professionals, based on actual jobs themselves and what they viewed as most important. We have internships, 23, then followed up by employment during college, then your college major, volunteering experience, and so on and so on. If I direct your attention to all the way at the bottom, we have college GPA. Out of a rating of 100, it got 8, meaning 8% of them felt that it was necessarily very important. So, kind of, we want to understand that, and we also want to understand the idea of college reputation being lower down, which I'll later on touch on. So, next we have career commitment. So we understand that indecision feels safe. However, in reality, it's the riskiest strategy in college and in life. Choosing a direction is not about a commitment, it's a working hypothesis. So we wanted to bring you guys through three of the most commonly heard examples that we typically hear in our day-to-day with individuals that are indecisive. The very first one we have not passionate about anything. If you're not passionate about anything, aim to learn a little bit more about different fields. And even those fields that you may think you could potentially see yourself very deep down the line, try to see if you could specialize a little bit more and have a concentration. Then we have the I have time to decide. This is the Achilles heel. The I have time, I have time, I have time. You must understand that without direction, everything resets every semester and you will never build momentum. In investing, we have something called compound interest, compound investment. This is a prime example of nothing will compound if you do not make a decision. You must commit to something, the earlier the better. Then we have locking yourself into the wrong path. You must understand you are young. You still have time to change. Plus, any career path you choose will have skills which are almost always applicable to other fields. What do I mean by this? If you pick any career, you will have the skills that come within the job of communicating, of presenting, of public speaking, etc., and so on and so on. So now on to some more actionable stuff. First, we have resume building. What your resume is. Your resume is not a record of what you did. It's an argument for why you make sense for this role. So, very commonly, we see individuals with three, four, five, 6 pages in their resume, and it's simply detailing everything that they've done in their life. This is the absolute wrong approach to do this. What you must understand is the most important part of your resume is your bullets. Your bullets should tell the entire story in an appropriate fashion. So we want to really focus on the bullets. We want to have an ideology that follows every single career path. So we want to be actionable, we want to illustrate our skills, and we want to talk about our outcome. This is very similar to the STAR method when interviewing. So next, we want the position titles matters less than you think. So a lot of times we focus a lot on director or lead or senior. The titles themselves don't get you the interview. Evidence does. They care more about what you did in that title rather than the actual title themselves. And lastly, the no experience. Experience doesn't have to be granted, guys. It can be created. This can be through self projects, projects reframed. This can be through any individual of clubs, etc. Understand that although you might have not been as fortunate to get an internship or a full time job, there are many ways and many things you can do to keep yourself busy. Don't just stop moving and become stationary. Try to be proactive in many fashions of life and kind of just continuously try moving on. So I did want to illustrate to you guys some bad examples of resumes, things not to do. So on the very first one, all the way to the left, we have Patrick Holland here, a little too colorful for my own taste. This is something which we want to stray away from. We do not want to, have so much visualization, so many colors, your own image of yourself. We want it to be very generic and very bland. That is, we want to get as much information there as possible, and we want them to really understand what we did in those roles. Then we have the middle one with Stacy Smith. Problem here, a lot of many issues. We have typos, we have wrong tenses, passive voice. We have a lot of things that are just incorrect. Here, we want to make sure, as I previously said, the bullets are the most important part of your resume. Those have to be absolutely impeccable, as when your resume gets reviewed by the ATS, which essentially is the AI that reviews resumes, you do get scored out of 100, and having typos will make you lose an insane amount of points. So it's something which we want to heavily focus on. And last, we have my boy Bill Jorts over here. Bill, very smart boy, very smart guy. I can clearly tell based on all his lengthy resume. However, that is the problem. It is too lengthy. It's one of those examples of someone trying to jam a little too much into it. We want to be a little bit more flexible, one page, guys, one page rule. At least early in our career, later on, we can transition into a little bit more, but early on, we really want to be concise. And please let me know down below if you would like a more detailed examples of resumes, what things to do, what things not to do. This is just a very brief overview of absolutes not, things to really keep in mind when doing it. Next, we want to go into experience beats prestige. You guys saw it earlier on in that chart that I showed you guys, illustrating that GPA and name of college were all the way towards the bottom. This is a very similar ideology here. So essentially, internships don't teach fundamentals. Understand that. That is very important. They assume them, meaning that they assume you already know this information. Classes teach you theory. However, you must know the tools in order to put these theories to use. So once you have direction, a coherent resume and real skills are the final step in execution. So here we actually see a breakdown of what I personally believe is a very good breakdown of what is important when applying for internships and just in general for full-time jobs. Experience is honestly, if I'm being honest, I think it's much greater than 50%. However, I will be generous and give it 50%, but that is by far the most important thing. Then we have followed up by clubs in 25, GPA by 15, school name by 10. If I'm being quite frank, school name is very poor. The school name for most of the time does not matter unless you are getting one of those degrees, such as an MBA, which connections is very important and which we will touch on a little bit later on. But a big Key takeaway: experience, experience, experience. That is the best thing you can do. That is much better than clubs. That is much better than GPA. That is much better than the school name. Get yourself some experience. The earlier, the better, because it's a snowball effect from there. So now we're going to touch on the cliche of networking. Networking is obviously one of the most important things, especially in corporate America. Everyone says networking is everything, but most people are doing it completely wrong. Networking is information gathering plus relationship building, not begging for favors. If little Jimmy comes up to me and tells me, "Hey, the next move, I really want a job," that screams desperation to me. I will not be giving him a job. I want someone that is confident. I want someone that can appropriately communicate with me. And just coming up to me and begging for favors, that is the wrong illustration. And that is a common sentiment that I very commonly hear amongst others. We really want to stray away from that. Networking isn't magic, it's deliberate communication. Remember that, please. If you do this right, it's not, you won't get any favors out of it, but you're going to learn about the individual, you're going to learn about the company, you're going to learn about the role, and this will give you information needed to make your decisions later on and even to be considered later on. So some typical networking advice, right? I want to really focus on the advice that commonly fails. We have the transactional approaches, the essentially, please give me a job. We just went over that with little Jimmy. That does not work out well. We have the randomness over relevance. We have oh my God, how coincidental that you're here with me. We really want to stray away from that. We really want to focus and be deliberate with who we network, what we say. We want to really have an ideology of what we're going to say to these individuals before we even see them. And lastly, we have the fear of asking correctly. So understand this: we typically have a sense of fear when talking to these individuals. Understand, they are just regular human beings. Do not overthink this. And we'll later on touch this a little bit later on. And now I wanted to touch on the real purpose of networking, your personal goals when enticing a conversation should be. So the very first goal, learn what skills actually matter for that role. You are applying for a role. So you want to know if there's specific softwares, if there's specific mindset approaches, if there's specific financial breakdowns that you must be coherent in to even have a successful chance at the role. Then you want to understand how people got where they are. So did they take a similar approach to you, or did they do a more conventional? Did they just join that role immediately out of college, or did they have to go and get experience elsewhere? These are things which will depend and will affect how you are perceived and if you get the role. Next, we want to build credibility through small contributions and thoughtful engagement. Guys, understand this. Networking is not a one time thing. Networking is not I sent you a message through LinkedIn. Hey, please help me out. Please refer me. Networking is you building a relationship with someone else. And in order for you to build any kind of relationship slash friendship, you have to be consistent. Small contributions and thoughtful engagement. If I'm only texting you and DMing you asking, "Hey, can I borrow $5? Can I borrow $5?" And this is the same thing over and over again, our relationship is going to sour. You have to understand thoughtful engagements over anything. And lastly, just touch on this, stop overthinking. It's just a conversation, guys. At the end of the day, you're speaking to a fellow human. Get comfortable having small talks and being personable. Remember, this is something which a lot of people fail to understand. If they were to hire you, you will be someone that they will have to interact every single day, meaning they need to like you. Nobody wants to go to their job and talk with someone they dislike. So this is essentially what I'm telling you guys. Stop overthinking it. It's just a conversation. Relax and everything will work out. But understand that you do need to be likable in these situations because no one wants to work with someone which they dislike. Thank you guys so much for this video, for kind of just hearing everything out and my opinion on it. I'll have some more videos coming out. please feel free to interact down in the comments down below. Any questions, check out our TikTok or officially the next move. If you have any questions or any video suggestions, or please guys, any critiques, anything in which you would like for me to improve on, please email it to me at the next move HQ. I am brand new to this and I am trying to improve as much as possible, trying to be personable and also, kind of show a little bit of my personality, as I know you guys can't quite see my face, but you know, any